Hi guys. So today we're gonna talk about how to optimize conversions throughout your funnel. It's an exciting subject, graduate level, because this is something only for people who already do stuff. You cannot optimize the funnel that you don't have. So there's a little catch. You have to first go back to all the stuff we were talking before about and do all the lessons, implement them, and then you're ready to start optimizing. So what is actually the purpose of optimizing anything? Well, as we were talking about, I think at our fourth lesson about online marketing, you want to get the equation in your funnel that is your lifetime value being bigger than 3 times your customer acquisition cost. And more often than not, when you do everything right from the start, set your fundamentals, build your funnel, execute everything well, calculate your lifetime value, calculate how much you can spend on customer acquisition cost.
It goes perfect, right?
It never goes perfect. And it's like in your Tinder account, if you ever tried it out. It usually doesn't work the first time. You have to optimize stuff. So the same is with your marketing funnels. And we actually came up with some simple structure for you on how you can approach optimization. Because once you already executed your funnel, there are probably 3 scenarios that you're going to end up with. And the first one is that you did everything and actually you are paying more for the customer acquisition than you are making on every of your customers. So, well, that doesn't look like a very happy scenario. Well, sorry. But there are ways to go about it. And first, one of them is to ask yourself a question if you really do have a product market fit. So is it really the first time you're trying to sell that product of yours, or you had some successes before and you were able to sell it to someone through whatever way, like even in-person selling?
Yeah, not your mom. It has to be someone who actually is going to pay you, and not someone saying, oh, I would certainly pay for that while you're giving it to them for free. It has to be, and this is actually why we recommend going back to our first lesson, before you build an online funnel, really try and validate if you can sell your product in person. Because if you can't sell someone sitting down in person your product at a very high conversion rate, because that's when sales are most effective, then you really need to look at your product carefully.
And is your price really compelling, like in the competitive scenario that you're working in? Like this is really, if this is what is happening, like you're seriously paying more for customer acquisition, even though you did everything well, you have the funnel, you're actually doing things in the way that we are recommending, and you're still paying more for the customer acquisition than you're making on the customer, you really have to go back to the product as the first thing that you should look at. And really, if there's nothing you can do about it, then the next thing you should look at is the lifetime value. This is probably, to me, one of the biggest discoveries that I had when I started working as a consultant and helping companies to make better results in their online marketing. The first thing that I always would go and look at for the customer would be the lifetime value. If I think there is a product market fit and there's something I can do about it, it's just going into online marketing. Is there something about the lifetime value I can make better? And you know, this is something we're going to talk about in the next lesson. But is your customer support really good? So people who are buying the product are again really able to access the product and make use of it. And are there some things in the lifetime value, like upsells, that are helping you to make more money out of your customer? Or maybe you are like underselling it for the price that is really a little bit too low for the product that you're offering, and like whatever you're going to do in the future will not really make it possible for you to make any profits on it. There's a very good story of this company HubSpot that was struggling with that for a long time until they discovered that they actually have to start charging for the onboarding process of their software, because otherwise they were not able to make profits. And the last thing that you should look at, if you reviewed if there is a product market fit, if you reviewed your offer, if you reviewed your lifetime value, if there's something you can do about it, then you go into fundamentals, the things that we actually spoke about in the previous lessons. Like, is your USP really compelling? Did you really do your work well? Did you build a persona that was the actual persona? Did you check your market? Did you check what's the awareness level of this market? Did you really check all the competitors very well, so you know that what you're communicating is really competitive to other companies that your potential persona might be looking at? So all these things you should look at, and these are the things that you should optimize in the situation when you're actually paying more for customers than you're making more on them. And after you make this change, then you start again from scratch. So sorry, it's a hard work. You have to redo a lot of stuff, but that's the only way to go about it. Don't bother going into the details and trying to optimize your page, because this will not solve the problem if you're paying more for the customers than you're making on the customers. The scenario too is like when you're better, you're actually making some little profit, and there is still a higher lifetime value for your customer than you're paying for the customer acquisition cost. You're bigger than your customer acquisition cost, but smaller than 2 times your customer acquisition cost.
This is a really important area as a business, because customer acquisition cost is only a small part of your business. So chances are, if you're at this spot where you haven't broken over 2 times lifetime value customer acquisition cost, you're either not profitable or you're very cash flow negative until you wait for the lifetime value to play out. Exactly. And at this point, you really don't want to scale a campaign without going into these steps. And Eva loves to talk about this part as radical testing, because so many times in testing, people get caught up on, and actually this is something I learned from Eva, is people get, because I'd learned optimization, what I thought was optimization on pages, but then Eva taught me radical testing. And what's that, Eva? What's radical testing?
Well, the radical testing works in this particular situation because you're still not far enough to go into the details. You should also not look into the offer, because it seems like you were able to actually acquire customers for the rational money, because that was somehow smaller than how much you're making on these customers. But this is where you should actually go and look into the funnel map that you built. And you should look for ways to optimize your funnel, because maybe some decisions that you made on your funnel were not the most optimal decisions you could have made. So what do I mean by saying that? For example, maybe the webinar is really not your tool in the funnel, because your market is busy, they don't have time to participate in the webinars. You should go differently about it. Maybe you should build some online assessment that will help people to get immediate results faster. You will be getting higher conversions on the lead gen, and later more people will be actually going through your free content. Or maybe the way you were trying to sell was too simplistic, meaning you were trying to get people immediately into buying your product on the page, and your product is slightly too expensive for that. And you should add an extra step, like getting people to give you their email address and apply for your service. And then you would have to call them and close the sale on the phone. That is the radical test in your funnel. Or maybe in the beginning of your funnel, you are actually using articles, which people don't like to read. They would prefer infographics or videos. So this is like a big portion of different radical tests that you can do. And you can really get creative here, but of course stay within the psychology of the funnel and try to see what's not working. Look at the funnel and see where the conversions are lower than you were assuming they would be. And before you go and optimize this webinar landing page, seriously try to first change the webinar into something else. Because if the difference is still big and you're still not making enough profits, the radical test will serve you better than going into the page details.
Yeah, so pick the big parts of the customer journey, like results in advance, presenting the offer. Those are the big moving pieces of the funnel. And if you look at Eva's little funnel map diagram, which I hope she puts up on the screen right now, test those big blocks, whether you're going to use video versus article, webinar versus maybe a free consult, and then how you're going to try and sell them online or sell them over the phone. So those are the things that we've tested, and really makes a big difference in your funnel. And then
the last one
is my favorite, and this is where I learned.
It's the most fun one.
It is the most fun, and